Well, my boss info from him before he retires, rides off into the sunset.
Anna said she's in.
Cool. So I'll be good to go early because I'll be right there, and I don't plan on coming home and then going back out there. So whenever
Oh, I don't got shit going on.
I could just find something to do that doesn't involve me driving all the way home. But we're live now.
Oh, I guess I gotta fucking pay attention.
Well, allegedly.
All right, let's get this brewing. I've been real excited to talk about this. So,
Hey, this is Tony.
and this is David.
We are the Backseat Producers, and tonight we're going to talk about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse,
Mm.
the second of the Spider-Verse films. The second
Thus
of
far, my
at least
favorite of the
three.
Spider-Verse films.
Oh, well, jumping right into those high-level
Mm-hmm.
reviews. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's hard for me to say favorite, just because I haven't rewatched the first one in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, recency bias tells me it is my favorite.
So, I think they're both very good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I like this one better because it's the Empire of the series.
It definitely feels like that. Yep.
And like the first one is a nice self-contained. The first one is very A New Hope.
Yeah.
Like it's a nice self-contained story,
Mm-hmm.
which is good, but I prefer this one because the like complexity and like everything just ratchets up a level.
Yes. I think the only thing that hampers the first one is that it has to establish this grand status quo of Spider-Man being in a Spider-Verse
Mm-hmm.
and all these different characters. This movie does the second movie, Across, doesn't stand alone well. It I think it
Oh yeah,
requires the first one just to understand the concepts of what's going on with all these Spider-Men, Spider-Mans,
spider
uh,
people,
Spider people.
spider
And
people,
there
and
is a
spider not people,
yeah, yeah,
spider persons and non-persons.
yeah, spider entities.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it requires that you see the first one. I think that's the only thing that would hamper it, but that's like the only thing. This movie's great. It's great all the way
Yeah.
around.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's goddamn gorgeous.
It is beautiful.
Again.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and there's so much detail, and there's so many little things that I want to point out that are that are Easter eggy, and like there's a ton of Easter eggs depending on just the level of fan you are, and depending on what type of like where you come at Spider-Man from being a fan. Like if you come at Spider-Man from being a fan of the MCU movies, they address that. If you come at it from being the comic books, they address that. If you come at it from any of like 4 or 5 different ways you can come at it from the comic books, they address all those. Or if you're just a fan of the first one, they just lean into that too.
I
Yeah,
don't give a shit about the comics. But that first movie was incredible.
it was. It was. And this just builds on it.
Yep. Yeah, when I got out of this, I was like, Jesus, this is the superhero movie we could be having, like the quality of movie that we could be having with superhero movies, and yet we don't have that the majority of the time, and that's a deep bottom. Like we get Quantum Mania
That is unfortunate.
or Multiverse of Madness
Or we get the Flash.
or The Flash. Tony,
I told you.
Tony.
I do believe I told you this
I
movie was
know you
not
told me it was
good.
so bad. I know and that's why I had to go.
Yeah, well, there's sometimes where you hear the sirens and then you hear a lot of sirens and you're like,
Mm.
I kind of just want to walk down on the end of the block because I know it's just around the corner. I can see the lights lighting up the top of the trees and like I can smell the smoke, I can hear the gunshots and I just want to go see what happened because I know it's bad. I know it's really bad and I know I can just take a few steps and witness the the train wreck that this thing is. And
So
that's what you did.
the last time that like actually happened to me, it literally was a school shooting
Well,
down the street from my house.
that is true,
I was very pleased not to have done that.
right?
Um, but I had to go see it, and it was worse than I could have imagined.
Yeah.
That opening scene with all the falling babies. What the
So what's funny
fuck?
is on my drive home from lunch and margaritas, like it was
Oh,
lunch with you and Luke, and then Luke and I were like, "Oh, let's go get a margarita."
it was
So we
both
did
off.
that. And on my drive home, I called Julie just to let her know I was on my way home, and she's like, "Oh, how was the movie?" And I was like, "Oh boy." so I
Settle in.
so I described it to her, and she's like, "So the way you describe it, it doesn't sound horrible." I said, "That's just it. There is a concept there that really works, but the execution is just a train wreck.
Yeah.
It is just
Hmm.
god awful." And the thing is in my description, I completely omitted the falling babies. I think my brain just blocked it out. I
That was the scene where I was like, Tony warned me, and I'm here anyway.
Yeah. Well, and in seeing that, it also kind of establishes that status quo. Like, all right, you're telling me right now what this movie is. Like, it's a horror movie that has a gruesome horror, a horrific death in the first 2 minutes, just because, like, if you wandered into the wrong theater, you'll see, oh, I need to not be here because this is the movie we're seeing.
Yeah, yeah,
This was the gruesome death.
yeah.
And
Was
no babies died.
the death of cinema.
No babies or dogs died in that.
But yeah, that was the front. Like, I don't want to talk about this movie a ton, but it feels like someone saw No Way Home, and they were like, it would be fucking cool if we brought back a bunch of old actors to cameo in this movie in a weird way. And then they did that, and then like built the rest of the story around it.
The thing is this is a story that they've told before in comic books.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
But like specifically with the Flash and specifically with running fast enough to go back in time and specifically with Barry doing that and fucking everything up because
yeah,
that's what he does.
because that's the time travel plot.
Right. Yeah.
That's always the time travel plot.
Yeah.
There's
Don't
no
go
other
back.
time travel plot.
Yeah, don't go back. You're gonna fuck shit up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went to a Back to the Future trivia last night and I dominated.
Of
It was
course you
only
did.
one category. It was only 5 questions, and they were not even particularly hard questions. Like they asked the date, but they only asked the year, and I was like, "Come
Oh,
on,
come on.
this is
That's not even
weakness.
hard.
This is weakness."
Yeah. 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 The only other thing I'll say about Flash is there were some individual performances that were really good. That's it. That's the good thing I have to say about it.
I
There
liked
were
Michael Keaton a lot.
I did. I liked Michael Keaton a lot. I liked Ben Affleck a lot, and I liked Sasha Calais a lot.
Hmm.
And I think that's how you pronounce her last name. I don't know for sure. I liked her a lot. I thought she
Yeah,
did
me
great.
too.
I would love to see her as Supergirl again. She
Yeah.
was fantastic.
Hmm. Yeah, I
But
was in for that shit.
yeah, Yeah. The rest of the movie, though,
Yeah,
oh
no.
boy.
Mm-mm.
Oh boy. All right,
Oh,
so
that's not
let's
true. I love Michael Shannon too, because I love Michael Shannon in goddamn anything.
he is great. He
He
is
didn't
great.
even do anything in the
No,
he
he
just
really
needs to
wasn't in it.
stand there.
He really wasn't in it, but he was great doing it.
Yeah, he
He
was
looked
wonderful in
fantastic.
yeah.
So let's box that movie and push it to the side
Yeah.
because I'm done
I don't
talking
want to
about that one.
discuss it together again.
No, I wanna talk about, uh, Across the Spider-Verse. Um,
Where do you want to
Oscar
start?
Oscar Isaac was great
Ooh.
as 2099.
Mm-hmm.
He was fantastic.
Incredible.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
Uh, the
Yeah.
art style, like, I even recognize the art style that they used on him. There's a comic book artist by the name of John Romita Jr., and I'm not particularly a fan of his artwork, but his art style, it looked a lot like they were aping his art style for the 2099 art. He draws faces in a very particular way, especially in the last 10, 15 years. Because he's been around for a long time, and his dad just passed away within the last couple of weeks. John Romita Sr. was
Mhm.
a groundbreaking artist. Like he did not create Spider-Man, but his art style like informed a lot of early Spider-Man. Um, he's credited as being one of the first people that drew Wolverine. Like I think he did some of the concept art for Wolverine. He didn't do like the first comic book appearance, but he did the like some of the concept art for him. He's a senior is a very well known, a very well respected artist. Junior is very well known. A lot of people like his stuff. I am not one of them.
Dun
But
dun dun. That
but
dude's dad just died, Tony.
he
Jesus.
did. But
What a dick.
his style is really distinct. And when I saw uh, Miguel uh, Spider-Man 2099, I was like, holy shit, that looks just like Romita Jr.'s art.
I mean,
That that was one of the Easter eggs, depending on where, what level of fan you are. That was one of the Easter eggs that I picked up on. At least it felt like it to me. I don't know if that's what they were going for, but that sure is what it seemed like.
I can't think of a single performance that sucked. So,
No, there were no single performances that sucked. There
I
was
mean,
no art style that sucked.
nope.
It was beautiful.
I mean, we do have to talk about the best fucking thing in the movie, which was Spider-Punk.
Uh, I don't know. The Indian Spider-Man
hmm
was really goddamn good.
Indian Spider-Man was also really
I
good.
really did like that guy.
How do you guys get anything done with all this romantic tension?
He was great. Spider Punk was Daniel Kaluuya was
hmm
amazing.
Everything. Taking a crap on the establishment.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
believe in labels. That's a lot of labels for someone who doesn't believe in labels. I don't believe in consistency.
Very, very well done.
So good.
Uh, it was fun seeing Donald Glover.
Ah, that was so good.
Glover captured as the Prowler, which
hmm
was a great payoff because it was like we're never going to see that paid off in the MCU, but we got it paid off, which was wondrous.
Yeah, it's rude to stare.
Yeah.
So solid. All right. So here's what I didn't like about the movie. Gasp! There was things I didn't like about the movie.
What?
The pacing in the beginning is rough.
Yes.
So I watched the movie twice.
Yep.
The second time I had way less problem with the pacing because I knew, and I think it's because like the story gets so dense around the middle And like the second time I saw it, I was like, okay, well, how much of this density are they like setting up in the first half? And spoiler, it's all of it,
Yeah.
right? So like the pacing didn't feel weird the second time, but did feel weird the first time.
Like it takes you a while to get used to the pacing.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that. I can see that. Yeah, that is something to note that this was what, a 2.5 hour long movie, give or
Mm-hmm.
take. Considering the story that was told, like I'm surprised that it's only a two-parter because there is a lot that happens in this half.
Yeah.
Like there is a shit ton of stuff going on where I knew going into the movie that it's two-parter, and it hits
Thanks for the
probably about
heads up, Dick.
it hits about 2/3 of the way through the movie, and, like, I'm expecting any minute for them to break it off to get ready for the second half, and it just keeps going. Like, I
Yep.
felt like I'd already been there for 2.5 hours. Not that it dragged, but there was just so much
It was
story
so
being told,
much.
and it was all great, but it was
Mm-hmm.
just it did not decompress the storytelling at all.
No,
It was thick.
it was thick, and the thing is, so later I was like, there was probably some stuff in the beginning they could have cut out, but like you need all the bits with Gwen.
Yeah,
Like you have to have all of that for like it to make sense at all that she just leaves.
right?
Like you got to have all of it. Um, you got to have all the stuff like thematically with Miles being at the point in his school career where like he has to start thinking about you know who he's actually going to be. Like just thematically, you have to have all of that set up.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
There's
the
no point of the story.
yeah, otherwise that's the story.
Yeah,
And
well,
then like the hit, so like I'm not gonna not spoil. Like we
yeah.
can't just like and then the hit when he's on the train and he's like, nah, I'm gonna do my own thing. Like that like you have to have the setup pieces for that to work. And
Yes.
it works. It works. Like that was solid as shit.
The the whole story was woven together extremely well.
Hmm.
Um, every every character was necessary unless they were just a flash cameo. But even those were fun.
Hmm.
But like all the growth they showed in the different spider entities that we saw. Um, and spoiler, we're going to get to see the ones that were some of the ones that were from the first movie in the third movie, which was one of the one of the things that I was like, are we going to really get the band back together? We didn't.
Yeah, that was a surprise to me.
I was kind of waiting for it to happen, and then when I could see that we weren't, I just kind of abandoned it, and then they do it.
Hmm.
I was like,
Yep.
God damn it, there it is.
Yeah, I mean because we only get Jake Johnson's Spider-Man,
Yes.
which I'm fine with. I love Jake Johnson as a
Yeah.
voice
Well,
actor because
and
his voice
Gwen. I
makes
mean,
me
we have
laugh.
him and
And
Gwen.
Gwen, and
But yeah.
I
But
mean
other than
Gwen's.
that, that was it. It was just the three of them.
I actually kind of thought we were gonna do this whole thing where Gwen was the main character of this story, like just based on the opening, because
Yeah.
like it's like half an hour before before we even get to the Miles monologue.
Right. Right. And it was really nice focusing on Gwen for a bit though.
Hmm.
Um, because we didn't need to set this story up with Miles.
Yep.
Miles, at the beginning of the story, Miles is a bit player in it. He is the sidekick in this story until he's not.
Hmm. Yeah,
And there's
and those parallel storylines when they converge is like super sad. Like the conversation that they have on the underside of that tower, that
mm,
tall ass building, like that's some solid shit right there.
yeah.
Like that was a good real adult conversation from two people who are like, yeah, literally no one in my universe understands these things that are happening to me.
It was great.
Yep.
The writing was great all around.
hmm And then like that awkward romantic tension between them, where like he's reached his hand over to her, and she's like, in every universe where Spider-Man gets together with Gwen, it doesn't work out.
Yeah. Yeah. It ends badly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole set of memes now created around the idea of canon events,
hmm
which is which is great, but also it's something that was explored not too long ago in actual DC comics where they have like this idea of so they have the idea of the multiverse, but they also have an idea of a metaverse where there are certain things that have to happen in every universe. And from DC Comics, the idea came about that in every universe there is Superman, and Superman starts it all. Like that was the point of that story was that the analog to that is the canon event is that Superman's the first superhero, and everything's built off of that and comes from him, regardless of whether it's a happy universe or a bad universe. It all starts from him.
Oh.
Even the idea that our real world was created with the first one being Superman, being the first superhero, even though he just existed in comic books. So like the concept of canon event is there, they just call it something different.
Sure.
So that was kind of I'm already down for the concept, and I liked using that as a foil, as a force of nature that they have to contend with, and that Miguel feels obliged to, and it creates an antagonist in Miguel. But is Miguel wrong?
No, he's
Right?
not wrong. He's
That's the
not
amazing
wrong.
thing.
That's the best part about it.
Yeah,
Because Miguel is also a superhero.
yeah. He's and he is creating a set of circumstances where the sacrifice has to exist. And
Because they
for him,
gotta.
that is a sacrifice.
Yeah, I mean that whole conversation where he's like, yeah, I accidentally killed an entire universe. So quiet, Romeo. You didn't kill a universe. No one's interested in what you have to say. He's like, yeah, I accidentally killed an entire universe. So like I've dedicated my life to keeping that from happening again, and you're fucking shit up, brah.
Yeah,
And like that is a 100% reasonable position to have taken.
it really is.
And
Like
it's like,
he feels like the villain in the moment,
mm-hmm.
but when you take a half a step back from that, it's like, no, he's got a really great point here.
Yeah, and like before I was thinking he's like, yeah, you're not wrong, you're just an asshole, but like he's not even really being that big of an asshole.
Right.
He's just like, hey, we gotta figure out what to do with you for the next 2 days. Like, it
Yeah.
sucks your dad's gonna die, but like,
We just are going to prevent that from happening. It's not we're
yeah,
going to hurt you, we're not going to kill you. We're just going to prevent you from interfering. Okay.
and he's like, yeah, I get it, but like, sorry,
Yeah.
you've just like maybe potentially killed Moonbatten. So,
Right.
God, that sequence was cool too.
It really was. It was wonderful. The three of them swinging through the city before that
Mm-hmm.
uh was was really like I loved it. Like I loved the how they took all of the New York and the Spider-Man of it all and just put
Made
it
it
on a
Indian.
yeah,
Yeah.
made it Indian. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
And he was
For
just
sure.
as quippy as Peter Parker.
That's my favorite goddamn line from the entire movie. All of us are funny. Why aren't you funny? All the Spider-Mans are funny. Why aren't you funny? So the first time I watched this, I watched it, fresh, and with an eye towards the plot and the story, because that's normally like the things that I'm biggest into.
Sure.
Like I love a good narrative. The
Hmm.
second time I watched it, I tried to focus more on the art
Ooh.
instead, because like I'd already seen it, and like aside from some bits in the middle or bits in the beginning and the middle, I wanted to just God damn, the art is so gorgeous. Every shot like just perfectly supports exactly what they're doing in the moment.
Hmm.
The big confrontation between Gwen and her dad at the end, there's no detail in the room. There's no detail, nothing has an edge, and all of the colors are also just melting.
Yeah.
Like the entire shot is so formless that you have nothing else to focus on except her and her dad dealing with their shit.
It's it's wonderful that they're taking really great comic book storytelling techniques that have been proven over, like what, 9 decades now, I guess, of superhero storytelling that have evolved, and they're using those techniques to take the sequential art from comic books and put it into a moving artwork that, like, it also brings in comic book or cartoon artwork where you want to focus everything, you just take away the
Bleed it
background.
out.
Just the backgrounds don't matter. While sometimes you have the art the artist, flexing with, all the cool stuff in the background, that's not what's important. That's not what you should be focusing on. And why waste your time animating something that you shouldn't be focusing on anyway?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the animation stuff in a bit
Yeah,
with all
there is.
the with all the business that's come out. But here's what I think is actually happening in that scene. So like I love the idea that they're forcing you to focus on Gwen and her dad,
Mhm.
but I don't think that's actually what they're doing. They're unraveling the canon event.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think that's what's happening. Like I think that's the point of that art style there. Like the
that's a good
world
point. I hadn't thought of that.
isn't formed anymore the way that
Yeah,
it should be because Captain Stacy isn't gonna die.
there isn't a Captain
There is
Stacy
no
to
Captain Stacy.
die. Right.
Hmm. So
Yeah,
I'm excited to see how that does a thing.
sure. Sure. Well, and what's what's really cool about all that is the idea that, it's Uncle Ben, the Uncle Ben happens, the Captain Stacy happens, the Gwen the loss of Gwen happens. Those are all canon events. Just a couple of days ago, I was flipping channels and No Way Home was on, and it was really early in it, and I watched it to almost the end, and the scene came up again where Aunt May dies
Hmm.
in that one, which, and I pointed out to the family when we were watching it at that point. I said, Aunt May dying there is the Uncle Ben dying. It's like there's this analog of both her being the Uncle Ben, but also Tony Stark being the father figure that Uncle Ben was, and him losing those two people where there's not an Uncle Ben in the
Yep.
MCU. It Those two deaths fill the role of losing Uncle Ben. So
Hmm.
that's kind of like this canon event for him because he also doesn't have a Gwen Stacy to lose.
Yep.
So, like, it played really nicely into that concept, even though there's like 99% sure there was no discussion between the MCU people and the Spider-Verse people about that
Oh
in
no,
this.
absolutely not.
Right.
Absolutely not. Because they made more or less, although they do make fun of it,
They do.
which was great.
Yeah, there's like two mentions of the MCU Spider-Man. One overtly mentioned where they say something in the beginning about, yeah, that punk from
Yeah.
Earth, what, like 1999, 99, uh messing with the multiverse. There's some quote to that effect, and then Donald Glover showing up as the Prowler. Like
Mhm.
those are really the 2 points. The other thing that I thought was hilarious was uh, we see Genki playing a video game, and he's literally playing the PS5
Mhm.
Spider-Man game, which
Mhm.
I thought that was really clever. That
Yep.
was really funny.
Mhm. God, that was good. Uh, Another amazing part of this movie for me was Spot.
Yeah.
Like when he comes back and he's like, "I'm out of holes," and like the two construction guys are like, "You're making everyone uncomfortable talking about your holes."
That opening fight with him was hilarious
It was so good.
and a lot of fun. Like,
Mhm.
they really played with the medium a lot, and, like,
Mhm.
they just went balls out with it. It was great.
Yep. God, I love that.
Spot was a ton of fun.
That was a lot of fun. Ben Schwartz.
Yeah. Yep.
No, that's not his fucking name. Schwartzman.
Schwartzman, I think. I think that's his name. I'll let you, look that up.
Jason Schwartzman.
Oh,
I was thinking. I was thinking John Ralphio.
yes. Yeah, that's not him.
That's not. That's way. That's a way different person.
Yes, it is.
Um. So the big action scene that was incredible to me. So the big spider chase.
Yeah,
The big spider chase.
right.
One, there is so much shit on the screen. Like
Constantly.
every scene has so many entities in it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like in most action movies, I would expect there to be a shit ton of shaky cam, and I wouldn't be able to see what was going on. But I was never lost.
The action always made sense. It always made sense why there were a million spider entities around.
Mhm.
They did a really great job of touching on a billion different spider people that are referenced in other media, like in other video games, in comic books. Like there's a whole Spider-Verse thing that has happened in the comic books. So I don't know if this film created any new spider entities. Like legit. I don't
It
know.
had to
It
have.
may have, but like the named ones, they were all in the comic books or video games at some point.
Yeah, no, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yep.
But just jamming everything on there all at once, like, so one thematically is amazing.
Yeah.
Like just the whole, yeah, this is gonna be a frantic situation, and oh wait, here's 1,000 different characters. Here's 1,000 different characters with all manner of weirdness and animation style and just like and I love the juxtaposition of animation styles.
That was amazing.
Like
It's really cool to see on the screen.
the stuff they did with Spider Punk, just like, yeah, he looks different.
Yeah. He just looks he just looks different.
He just looks different. Like the whole style, the whole thing was just incredible.
Yeah.
How are you even cooler under the hood? I was just cool the whole time. Fuck, God damn it.
I'm pretty sure they got all the voice actors back from the first one who voiced roles in this one, which was actually kind of nice to see considering they got Oscar Isaac to do Miguel in the first one, and he only has like a line or two. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's a post-credit scene. I think because I know he's in it, but I want to say it's like a post credit scene, or it's right at the end if it's not. But to seed him in that way, that's that's really cool, and I'm glad that they got him back for it because he really does add a lot of gravitas to that whole storyline.
I have never seen this.
You haven't seen the post credit scene? Well, you probably left, or you probably just passed out. You were spent after the seeing the first one.
God damn.
It sets it all up.
It's so fucking good.
Yeah.
Mm. Ah, damn, Oscar Isaac was good. So part of the brilliance of this storytelling for me is they know exactly how to keep the tension in a scene at a very specific level. So like they walk Gwen and Miles walk in and it's the first time that they meet Miguel.
Okay.
And so like they've walked through all these dark ass passages. Like it's clear that there's a whole mounting menace situation happening. And like Vampire Miguel is up on that platform. The platform starts slowly moving down, and then they're like, "Yeah, the platform moves very slow." So like they never let it get like, and I think that's how they keep it from getting over the top,
Yeah.
right? Like it like everything has to be grounded. Like even the super serious stuff has to be grounded at least in some tone that they've set through a joke, but like because they don't want it to get too heavy feeling because I think they realize that they can't pull it off. Like it's real hard to pull that off.
So what I think that's interesting in that they're writing for the characters because Peter Parker, like as a character, he he has dealt with a lot of trauma in his life. And part of the way he deals with that is by making light. You know, he cracks jokes, he quips. It throws off the bad guys, it frustrates them, but also like that's just how he deals. Miles is different. Gwen is different. Miguel is different. But any of the ones that are analogs of Peter Parker, including the Indian one, which is really just a Peter Parker analog, but you know, as a an Indian man instead of being Gwen, who is actually Gwen, because there's Gwens in other universes. Miles is not Peter. Miguel is from the future. You know, he's post Peter. So those characters have, I mean, technically so is Miles, but um, but those those characters don't have the same like that same jokey nature. So like when Miguel gets introduced, it's serious because he's serious. He's not the same character,
Yeah.
and they don't treat him the same way as when Pete shows up with Mayday,
Mhm.
and like then it's real light and funny and jokey
Mhm.
because that's the way Peter is.
And I've had the just right amount of you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I like how the tone changes with the characters that are there. When
Yeah.
when all the Peters are chasing Miles, like half of them are jacking around, and they're like, "Oh, I guess we need to go do this now." Like that's just the way those characters are.
Yeah.
And I liked that. Like I liked the thought they put into that writing.
Why aren't you funny? I mean, because Miles isn't particularly funny either.
No,
He doesn't joke.
he
I
doesn't.
mean, he's cool, but he doesn't joke.
No,
And neither
no.
does Gwen. Yeah. I guess I never even really thought about it.
Like they say things that are situationally funny, but they're not quippy.
Yeah. Yes, the platform is very slow. Like, but
Yeah.
that's not a joke.
No. No, it's
Like
just
the joke is the commentary, but it's not a joke.
right. Right. So, taking a step back to the plot, I really like the idea that Miles was never supposed to be Spider-Man because it's he took away he took away a Spider-Man from another universe.
Yeah.
And like part of me was kind of expecting they didn't go there, but I was half expecting that to be the real world. Like, like
Hmm.
our universe should have had a Spider-Man, but
Yeah.
it's Miles. Miles took the spider and that's where it is now.
Hmm. Yeah. But I like where they went with it anyway.
I do like it.
Like it is real. It's a good loop to close from the first movie.
Yeah, it is.
Hmm.
It is, and I liked like I could see things threading together like a half a second before they happened in that last 10 minutes of the movie, but I
Hmm.
didn't like I felt like they earned every one of those misdirects, the
Yep.
changes like, "Look, we never told you you were going back to your universe." Like, the
And in
story
fact,
never told you that.
we explicitly told you, the audience, we weren't going there because
Yep.
we showed you the universe we were going to,
Yeah.
and we told you that spider was from a different universe.
Yep. Yeah, and
I'm
I loved the reveal that, Uncle Aaron's not the Prowler.
I'm not
That
the
was
Prowler.
that was
Ugh.
great. That was really good.
And they've seeded it throughout the whole. So when Miguel's telling him about the spider that took it, like they show that Miles
Yeah.
in the little scene, the cut scene there. Mm.
Yeah.
And have you seen the thing in movie one when Spider-Man and Miles are looking at each other and Miles gets the spider sense for the first time?
Mm-mm.
Like all the color palette in the back are the Prowler colors until he gets
Oh,
the spider sense, and then they all shift to the Spider-Man colors.
I did
Ah,
not see that.
oh, it's so good.
That's good. That's really good. I hadn't seen that. I didn't notice that.
Oh, it's so good.
Okay.
When he pops into his room in the 42, all the schematics for the Prowler costume are all on the walls and shit. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. I said we were gonna put it away, but
Oh
there
God.
are parts of The Flash that mirror things that happen in this movie, and it is to show you how poorly they can be done. Like how it's the same idea, but the execution can be done so differently, just so drastically differently of expecting to go into one universe and ending up in another.
Hmm.
Like
And the Flash stuff could have been cool.
it could have been.
It could have been so goddamn cool
Yeah.
because there were elements that were badass.
Yeah.
Going to get Supergirl was a fine scene. They could have
It
done
was a
the.
great sequence.
Yeah, that was a great sequence. And like you knew who she was, you knew what they were doing there. So like there were no surprises, but like,
Right.
at the end it was still pretty cool.
It was. It was. Uh like there were even moments of really good storytelling there where Barry shows her like old man Barry shows her moments of humanity, and so that when it comes down to it, she sides with him instead of with Zod.
Hmm.
That
Yeah,
good writing.
yeah.
There's there's good there. But I believe I told you and Luke when we were talking about it after I saw it. It's like they shot the movie twice. Once very jokey and once very serious,
Hmm.
and then they like gave both sets of footage to a methed out raccoon uh who they set up with Pro Tools and just said, here,
Yeah.
edit this into a story.
Hmm.
Because there are times where things just are very serious, and then there are times where they're not, and there's really no rhyme or reason for it. There's
Yep.
there's there's absolutely no rhyme or reason for the tone changes. Where this movie, the tone shifts throughout, but it makes perfect sense. It forwards the story, it services the characters and the plot.
It's a story with intention.
Yeah.
Flash didn't know what it was doing.
No,
They were
I
like, we got to
agree.
make a Flash movie, and multiverse is a word that people are using for the next phase of MCU.
Right.
So we got to do something with it.
Yep.
Which, arguably, the same thing Marvel's doing. Like, multiverse is a word we've used, and now we have to do something
Now we
with
have
it.
to do something with it.
Yeah, only.
The funny thing is this movie does it.
Yeah, this is the movie that
This
both those studios wish they had made.
like No Way Home is a good movie.
It is. Yep.
It touches on the idea of a multiverse,
Hmm.
and it does it in an effective way.
Yeah, because
Mul-
that's not the point.
right. Multiverse of Madness is a hot mess.
Yeah, because the only thing they had going was the multiverse. They had no other interesting things about the movie.
Yeah.
No Way Home works because it's not about the multiverse.
No. It's about the Spider-Verse though.
It is about the Spider-Verse,
It
but
it's it's what I don't think No Way Home exists without Into the Spider-Verse.
absolutely not.
I think Into the Spider-Verse definitely informed No Way Home.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
And Across
Yeah.
the Spider-Verse just builds on all of it,
Hmm.
which I'll be honest, Beyond the Spider-Verse has set an incredibly high bar for itself.
It's not coming out until like 2025.
It was supposed to be 2024, but I think that's all been pushed back at this point.
There's no way.
Yeah.
There's just no way,
Yeah.
especially with everything that has come out about the animation process and how Lord is like impossible to work with.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if that's being corroborated by anybody that isn't anonymous. I've heard there's like
Yeah.
3 people on an anonymous Reddit post that have said this,
Hmm.
but it's like nobody else is talking. That maybe they're scared to.
Yeah, I mean it's a
That's entirely
career-ending
possible.
comment.
Sure,
That's
it is.
100%. But like the VFX and animator situation right now is exactly the same across the board, right? Like I watched something from some guy, you know,
Mhm. Sure.
like he was given a presentation in some men's room at like a Walmart, and I was like,
Yeah.
this guy seems like an expert. I better
Sure.
stop and listen to what he has to say. But he's like, the problem is like the major VFX studios quote the movie prices based on like the frames that they have to animate, but since they don't know what the complexity of those frames are going to be, they can only quote on the number ahead of
Mm,
time.
yeah.
And then if they don't make it, or they need to do like what amounts to more VFX discovery or whatever it's called in that industry, like the the two major studios are like, nah, we'll just go somewhere else. So like they're in a real tight spot, which is why all the VFX look like shit lately, because the production schedules that they've got are just unrealistic. But like as a VFX studio, what are you gonna do? Tell Marvel no?
Right.
Or like, hey, we need more time to do this? Marvel's gonna be like, okay, we'll find someone else. Like we got Disney cash.
What's what's surprising to me though is how you have a movie that looks like Multiverse of Madness did, and then you have a movie that looks like Guardians 3 did. Because Guardians 3 was tight.
It was tight, but less VFX.
It feels like there were whole sequences of that movie that were shot on a soundstage, though.
Sure,
Like
but
a
with like
lot of it.
yeah, but there was like a lot less flying around, and like everything with Doctor Strange has to be like everything he does has to
Yeah,
be VFXed. So like I do think that there's probably the same number of frames that
sure.
are VFX in Guardians, but I think they're a lot less complex.
That very well could be.
And also, James Gunn tells a better story
He does. He does.
because he told a story. And like,
Well,
I
there's
get it
that.
because Rocket and Groot are both also entirely CGI, so that kind of undermines exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, like any sequence they had with the critters, like
Was
all those critters, those are all just
hmm
CGI. Every one of
yeah.
those.
So you know what? I take it back. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah. And what's crazy to me is that there are huge portions of that movie and the holiday special, the Guardians holiday special, that Groot looks like a dude in a plastic suit, but he's not.
Hmm
He's literally just animated to look like that, which is fascinating to me. It feels like they could have done some practical effects somewhere in there, but they don't. And that just amuses the shit out of me.
James Gunn does what he wants, Tony.
He does, and apparently comes in under budget, from what I've heard.
Oh,
Yeah,
damn. A big loss for the MCU then.
yep.
Bottom line is the only thing that matters.
So I don't know that I really have a whole lot else to say other than I'm excited to see Beyond.
Yeah, me too. Man, I gotta start bringing a notebook to this stuff.
Yeah, we used to joke about taking notes,
Yeah,
but I feel like
movie was thick.
it was very dense.
Every
It was
scene is so dense.
it really is. Uh, so we've got news about the new Superman and Lois, which I've apparently seen the new Superman in a TV show, but like I watched We Own This City. It's a it's a docudrama. It was on HBO. I think it was on HBO.
Sure
It's
was.
about Baltimore in I think in the 90s. They had this gun reclamation task force. I think it was gun reclamation. Um and they were doing great. Everybody, like, they were getting more busts than anybody, and they were like almost unimpeachable. Turns out they were shady as shit, stealing drugs from drug dealers and selling them, and all this stuff.
Normal cop
Uh,
shit.
yeah. What's his name? Bernthal was the main dude, playing the main dude in this one. Um, but the guy who's playing Superman apparently was in this series, was in 6 episodes, which I think that's all there were. Um, but I didn't know who he was to look for him. So I kind of want to go back and watch an episode or two just to be reminded of exactly which guy that was. Um, and out of curiosity, I looked, and he doesn't look it, but that dude's 6'4".
Oh God, what?
Yeah. Yeah, he's tall. And Rachel Brosnahan's like 5'3". So that's gonna be fun on screen.
That'll be all the CGI.
Yeah. That'll be most of the CGI budget right there.
I have not seen anything this dude has been in.
I think that's the only thing I've seen him in. But like I wouldn't have known who he was at the time. But also it's a cop show. So there's just a lot of white dudes in the background.
Yeah. Random white dudes
Yep.
corrupting around the city as as the white dudes
As they
usually do.
will. As they will.
All
Uh,
right.
that's all I got.
Okay.
And we'll probably be taking a few weeks off because of vacation. I got a couple of
Yeah, because you're
vacations.
out the next 2, and then I'm out the time before.
Well, I'm technically not out next week, but I gotta pack.
Yeah.
I gotta get ready, and then I am out for the next 2 after that.
Good. I got a fundraiser I gotta go to on the 19th.
That good. That works because I get back on the 18th. So I don't know if I'll
Yeah,
have
you're
time
not
to
gonna
watch
want
any.
to. Yeah.
I don't know if I have time to prep anything before then.
I will be seeing Velasa Pastor.
Oh yeah. I am looking forward to seeing the new Indiana Jones movie that comes out this weekend. I like Phoebe.
Ah, she's so funny.
She's really
She's
good.
really good.
I really like her, and I like the movies that James Mangold has made. I like a lot of them.
I can't go wrong with Mads Mikkelsen.
There's a lot this movie has going for it.
I know.
I have heard from someone who lives in the UK, and it's already been released over there.
Oh, that's weird.
And yeah, well, it comes out this Friday, so apparently it came out a couple of days earlier over there. But he said he was nervous about it, but it's really good. So
Oh, I'll be the judge of that.
we both will.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll both have had a chance to see it by the time we circle back around.
Yeah. No, 26. That sounds like the
So a month from now, we'll be back,
a month
and
from now.
we'll talk about uh, the Dial of Destiny.
Name's already not grabbing me.
Yeah, it's got a little alliteration though. All right, that's all I got. See ya.
Just yeah.